There's a topic and you care a lot about it. Uh-huh. Interesting, elaborate a little bit. Uh-huh. Go on, that's cool.
Hey everybody, it's Trevor here from Believe It or Not. I get asked the question sarcastically a lot, why do you care? So I thought I'd ask other people the same question, but maybe a little more sincere. So I have Taylor, the Antibot here. Taylor, why do you care?
Wow, I feel like that is such a big question.
Yeah,
First of all, thank you so much for having me on. It's really like a pleasure to be here and talk to you. I've been following your channel for a while now, so it's awesome to be able to do this.
same to you.
I would say, why do I care? That's kind of a multifaceted answer to that, but I would say that for me, I care about the weirdos. I care about the people who don't necessarily fit in with the dominant culture, who are not, on board with evangelical Christianity and everything it represents, and feel like they're alone and that they don't have anyone that they can relate to. And I
Mhm.
think, what I try to do with my channel is make those people feel less alone and also connect them to each other so that they can find friendship and camaraderie and support in one another.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, I told a couple friends that I was having you on today, and they were all very excited and jealous.
Yay.
And
That's awesome.
I was like, "You know me, though." But they were
I
so,
appreciate that. That's very
yeah.
flattering.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and your channel and, how you got your start.
Yeah, so I guess to start from the beginning, I actually grew up as a missionary kid. So my dad was a missionary pilot and my family moved overseas to Indonesia when I was about 10ish.
Okay.
So from 10 to 18, I was on the mission field, very much entrenched with evangelical culture.
Yeah.
Eventually, started questioning a lot of the things that I was brought up with. My husband is Drew from Genetically Modified Skeptic, and he actually left religion before me. And he was very like purposeful with not trying to push me in any direction and being very respectful of the fact that I still at the time held my Christian beliefs. But I think
Mhm.
naturally when you're and such a close relationship with somebody who's going on that deconstruction journey, it kind of you naturally start to question things yourself. And he also started on YouTube talking about like essential oils and alternative medicine and multi-level marketing because his family was very much entrenched in MLM called Young Living.
Yeah.
And both he and I were very skeptical, I
Yeah.
guess, of that whole thing. So when Drew started his channel, I was actually writing some of his videos, some of his anti-MLM videos.
Yeah.
And eventually I decided that I wanted to have my own voice and I started my own YouTube channel. And for the first couple of years on the Antibot, I was mostly making anti-MLM content. But as you can imagine, a lot of MLMs are they're barely popular in Christian communities and
Yeah.
specifically Mormon communities. And a lot of the arguments that you'll hear to get people to join MLMs are the same ones that you'll hear in evangelical Christianity. And so eventually I transitioned to primarily talking about religion. And as I say on my channel, I talk about life and relationships after leaving the church. And I also do commentary on the modern evangelical movement. So now that's pretty much what my channel is about. Sorry, I feel like that
Yeah.
was a long
No,
explanation.
that's good. Um, I'm actually working on a video right now about how Christians seem to fall for scams pretty easily, and a big section of that video is going to be on MLMs and Young Living. And it was so funny. I was going through the clips because like it's very evangelical coded in
Hmm.
how they do their conferences and stuff like that. And as I'm going through the clips, I saw a former friend of mine. just happily planting
Oh, wow.
things in the I that's how I knew about Young Living was from her originally, but
Oh,
yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah. So I was like, "Uh-oh," but, I'll still keep it in the video and people can guess who it is.
Wow, that's like it's crazy to because I feel like I've been in similar positions where people I've known, especially from the mission community, have unfortunately fallen into MLMs. And I think it
Yeah,
is because they are very evangelical coded. There's a lot of
yeah,
appeals to authority, and like
yeah,
you can't like disprove that essential oils don't work and that kind of thing. So unfortunately, evangelical Christians tend to get sucked into that.
yeah, and that's the thing, you can't prove it doesn't, but you can't prove it does either,
Right.
but that's
Yeah.
like the Christian argument, well, you can't prove that God doesn't exist, so
Yeah, exactly. It's the exact same thing.
yeah. Do you think they're targeting Christians because of that, or do you think that, it's more of a it just happens to work out that that's how they do their marketing, and then that's how Christians get sucked in?
I think that it is a targeted thing, I'm pretty sure. At least
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it. I think that because a lot of the arguments are so similar, they feel like they have a naturally built-in clientele.
yeah,
And I think also religious folks and especially evangelical Christians tend to be connected to a larger church body or connected heavily to their community. And
yeah,
so MLM scammers who, MLMs work by, you recruit one person, that person recruits three people, that person recruits
yeah,
another three people, and it's just like an endless chain. And so I think MLM scammers see that there are these large communities of people that are all connected to each other that they can
yeah,
prey on.
yeah,
So I think it is definitely a targeted thing. And I think it's also just kind of popular with that crowd regardless too.
yeah, it's true, and, like, especially when there is something like an alternative medicine kind of idea to it, and then there's already that fear of medicine and things
Yeah.
like that too, so that all kinda piles up. Because like, my I was gonna say friend, but I guess we're former friends now, but who is still, I think, really involved in Young Living is also very much an anti-vaxxer and
That
very
tracks.
much yeah. Yeah. So, um, growing up a missionary kid, were you on board, like, completely, like, "Yes, this is what we should be doing"?
I feel like I was a little bit too young to really understand it or really
Right.
consent to being a part of it. I
Yeah.
think back then I would have said that, yes, I was on board with it. I was kind of in a unique position in that my parents weren't your typical missionaries. Like they weren't going into interior villages and like preaching or spreading the gospel in that way.
Right.
But my dad was a missionary pilot. So he was, flying the preacher to the village so that the
Right.
preacher could spread the gospel.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, I, maybe if it had been a little bit different, I would have pushed back a little bit on it. I will say, like, because, I was in this mission community, I went to a missionary school, basically. All
Yeah.
my friends were like fellow MKs. There was kind of this expectation put on us that we would all like we're, even as kids, we're missionaries and we should be
Right.
trying to approach the local people with the gospel. And I always had a really hard time with that, not necessarily because I thought it was wrong, but more because I'm like a naturally introverted person and I
Yeah,
just
same.
didn't want to like go up to random people and start talking about stuff that I didn't know if they wanted to hear or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yeah, definitely, and I always felt convicted about that too, like, I really thought that we were supposed to be out spreading the gospel, that we were supposed to, like, you know, the Bible says to preach the gospel to the whole world, and I wasn't even sharing it with, like, my friends at school, and I would just beat myself up about it, like, "I'm supposed to be preaching to them and I'm not," so then, like, yeah, that would add guilt, which is another great tool of evangelicalism is making you
Yeah.
feel guilty. But
Yeah, because when you're brought up in that culture, it feels like a moral a moral failing. Like you
yeah,
should be out there doing this. And if you really like were a true Christian, if you're strong in your faith, then you would like push beyond that uncomfortability. And I never really could. Like I would
Yeah.
try, but I don't want to talk to people about random bullshit.
Yeah. I think the closest I got was they started a Christian club at my high school, and I was like, I think I just got ramped up because I was going to this Pentecostal youth group at night, and they told us to like tell all our friends to come to this Christian group. So it was like this one time where I was walking around, not even to like all my friends, just anybody I knew who went to church, I would walk up to them to be like, you're coming to the Christian club because you love Jesus, like around their friends, I guess, to pressure them into telling their friends that they went to church. I don't know what it was, but I did a lot of embarrassing stuff in high school. Another one was somebody was playing Marilyn Manson in gym class, and I went over and fast forwarded through the tape because I'm
Oh
that old.
no.
And I was like, I don't believe in this stuff. So I had my moments of sharing the gospel, but
That's so funny. See, I was on the worship team a lot in high
yeah,
school, and I feel like that was where I tried to be like, okay, I'm doing good. I'm working for the Lord, I guess, in a
yeah,
way. It might not be going up and approaching people, but I'm, on the worship team. And so I think I tried to like reassure myself, I guess,
yeah,
that way.
exactly. So now that you're on this side of it, and you're talking about being an ex-evangelical, I guess,
Hmm.
sometimes, what has your experience been as far as like the way people interact with you, maybe the way family interacts with you, but specifically like people you knew in the world before? How are they feeling about you now?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm kind of in a place of privilege when it comes to that. Both Drew and I have had a little bit of different experiences than
Yeah,
what is typical for a lot of people leaving evangelicalism. I actually didn't end up losing any friends over
nice.
it. When a lot of my friends found out that at the time I was identifying as an atheist, most of them were like, hey, I'm a Christian, but like that's not going to come between our friendship and like we can still be friends. What my best friend that I've had since I was really young, she's a Christian, she's a progressive Christian,
Yeah,
and it didn't affect our friendship at all. At the end of the day, both her and I have exact same values. We just come at it with a different perspective, I'd
yeah,
say. In terms of family, yeah, I still have a very good relationship with my parents. Obviously, we don't see eye to eye on
yeah,
most things, and they're very much still in evangelical Christianity. They're no longer missionaries. They moved back to the States. But we have a functional relationship. It's obviously like strained.
yeah,
But thankfully I did not lose any family or friends over it. But I will say that is not typical, I've found,
no.
for most people coming out of evangelicalism.
No,
So
that's fantastic. I lost friends when I started posting. It wasn't like it was okay
mm,
before that, but when I started posting, then I was anti-Christian. It wasn't just I didn't believe anymore. I
oh,
was like actively trying to send people to hell. So then I was the bad
ah,
guy, and then I lost, especially one friend who was like at one point I would have considered my best friend. It was like
oh
we're done.
no.
So, um, but it's like a bye Felicia kind of situation at this point.
I'm sorry, that's awful. That really sucks. I mean, I know
Yeah,
that for me, I get that in my comment section where
yeah,
people, like Christians, will be like, oh, you were never a real
yeah,
Christian. And oh, because you're criticizing evangelicalism or conservative Christianity, that means you're like anti Christian. I see that in my comments all the time. Like it's
yeah.
a daily thing.
Yeah. Oh, all the time. Yeah. You can't be an ex-Christian because you were never a Christian to begin with. I get that all the time.
Yeah.
So you said you did identify as atheist. How do you identify now?
I am now a non-theistic Satanist,
Okay.
and that's a label that I've used for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I would say I'm philosophically agnostic,
Yeah.
and like what non-theism means to me is more that I think the question of whether or not a God exists is not an important question. I feel
Yeah.
like it's kind of a distraction maybe to
Okay.
focus on that, and
Yeah.
I don't like make a claim that any supernatural deity or entity exists, but I
Yeah.
also don't make the firm claim that it doesn't.
Right.
But for me, like Satanism is seeing the figure, like the biblical figure of Satan, as like a symbol for rebellion and
Yeah.
independence and living authentically, and that's kind of how I've oriented my life.
Yeah. And like for me, I consider myself an atheist, but also I use a symbol of the devil as like my logo for
Yeah.
my main channel. So it's not like I don't understand that at all. And I get a lot of comments like, "Oh, you must really think Satan's an important figure." And for me, it's like kinda
Yeah.
like first
Satan
of
was kind
all,
of rad.
yeah, first of all, in the Bible, he's a lot better than God in a lot of
Right.
ways. And also it's just the more for me the symbol of I mean this is a like it's I shouldn't say this for copyright reasons, but we basically took it from a chick tract and then
Oh, I
my
love that. I guess I
yeah,
didn't
my friend
realize that.
redrew
That's
it. So
awesome.
yeah, for me, even just the symbolism of Satan, I think, is
Mhm.
very, very important. And because it does create an emotion in people, and because like
Yeah.
there's that reaction, and especially if you grew up Christian, and yeah, so I saw a post today from somebody that says, "Why? When are we going to acknowledge that Satanists are controlling the government?" And I was like, I don't know. I've known too many Satanists uh, to think that what's going on has anything to do with Satanism. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like with the Epstein files,
yeah,
everybody's saying that it's a secret cabal of Satanists doing
yeah,
this. And it's like, I've met a lot of Satanists. I'm a Satanist myself. I can
yeah,
tell you there's no untoward things happening between Satanists and children, at least the
yeah,
Satanists that I know.
yeah.
And we don't eat babies. So,
Yeah, exactly. And I've known far more Christians who defend what people on that island have done than.
right. And I would say probably most of the people that went to that island or are on the Epstein list are Christians,
Yeah,
self-identifying Christians.
yeah, exactly. And like just the way churches have been hurting children for years and stuff, I don't think we can pretend that it's anything but, or that Christians have some sort of moral high ground in that area.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And how has your online community kind of, I don't know, affected you or affected what you do as far as just, yeah, the community around your channel, etc.
Yeah, I would say I love my community. I love my viewers online. I think that when it comes to the atheist world and the atheist niche on YouTube, I think
Yeah.
that my viewers are a little bit different. I have a
Yeah.
lot of pagans and Wiccans, witches in my
Nice.
community,
Yeah.
Satanists,
Yeah.
and I've recently been able to really connect with a lot of them in person because both Drew and I have started to become really involved with the atheist community of Austin because we live in
Nice.
Austin.
Nice.
And I started doing this year these monthly religious studies nights. It's
Okay.
like an event where I'll bring in a different professor. We've had two professors from Texas State so far to uh, talk about, different religious topics. One talked about like what is a cult and like the definitions of cults.
Yeah.
Another talked about hell in Tibetan Buddhism. And I kind of promoted that on my channel online to bring my viewers into the ACA. And I found that like it's been so great to be able to connect with them in person. And
Yeah.
a lot of the time, like they'll say to me, like, oh, your channel's been so helpful for me to like not feel alone. And I always tell them, like, it's helpful for me to hear from you guys so that
Yeah.
I don't feel alone at the same time.
Yeah.
And I've also seen just some of them like becoming friends with each other and finding support like in person with each other. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My sister basically met her wife through the comment sections of my YouTube.
That's so
So,
cool.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
At first, I was like, "You can't be dating my fans," but it seems to it
It
seems
worked
to
itself
work.
out.
Yeah, yeah, and they're fantastic together. So, yeah, it's awesome. And like we met personally, you and I at BajaCon last year,
Yeah.
and like I really want to do more conventions, things like that, just like to build that community even in person. Are you doing any of those this year?
Yeah, so we actually just got back. We were in DC for the Secular Coalition for America.
Okay.
Drew was speaking at their, I don't know if it's like a conference necessarily, but it's
Yeah.
an event for all of the like larger atheist organizations.
Nice.
And they also do like a lobby day where they go meet different like members of Congress to lobby towards, or speak up for the like the atheist community. So we did
Amazing.
that. I know we're going to the FFRF conference, I think, later this year.
Nice.
But like you, I've been doing so many more conference stuff
Yeah.
recently, and like in the last like year or so, and that's been really, really cool to be able
Yeah.
to connect to people like you. Like we both cover a lot of the same topics, so
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
I always find it funny, like, when I realize, oh, we're releasing a video on the same day, or me and Drew are releasing a video on the same day, and they're similar topics. It's, just that parallel thinking. Like, I was playing Quiplash with my friends last night, for my birthday thing. Have you played that game?
I don't think so. I don't
Okay,
know if
it's
I've
a
heard it
Jackbox. It's
actually.
like a video game thing, but it's like you get a prompt, and then everybody has to like type on their phone and make a joke, and then it shows on the screen. And there was so much parallel thinking with my friends, and I was like, oh, it's the same thing online. Like we're all in the
Yeah.
same circles, and we're all like
It's like we're
watching the
all
same.
reading each other's minds.
Yeah, exactly. It's a hive mind. Yeah. And you were saying earlier too about like just when somebody around you is really deconstructing, just how it affects you. And I think for me, my sister was that example of she was deconstructing, but I was trying to convert her back.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah. So and
Is
then
that
that
what like caused you to kind of deconstruct yourself? Was
that was
trying to
part of it.
convert her back? Okay.
Yeah, there was like it was one of those things like I always call it death by a thousand cuts because there was just so many different things that made me question, but that was definitely one of it. And now that certain people I know have also left the faith because of watching my videos, even though
Oh, wow.
yeah, because it's like, oh, I want to support my family members. So
Yeah, I've
yeah,
actually like both Drew and I, we've recently had quite a number of our friends either maybe not come completely out of Christianity, but they've,
yeah,
might identify themselves as like progressive Christians now or
yeah.
have kind of started a somewhat deconstruction journey. Or we've had a lot of our friends come out as queer. And like
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
queer. I was one
yeah,
of like the first people from my like mission community to like come out, I guess, in a public way.
yeah,
And like years later, I'm finding out like, oh, the group of friends that I hung out with in high school, like we were all the queer kids. We just
yeah.
didn't know it then. And now a lot of them are starting to come out themselves. And it's really cool to be able to see that and like be in a place where I can be supportive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was even after I started the channel that I realized I was ace. And it was one of those things where a couple years ago I was filling out a form and it said, "Are you LGBTQIA?" And I was like, I usually just always hit no to that. And then I was like, wait a second.
Yeah. Wait, I
I'm
think
the
one of
A.
those letters stands for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I sent a message to my sister and she's like, one of us.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah. Do you have a current nemesis?
I would say that I don't have like any one nemesis. I
Yeah.
was thinking about this question earlier today, and I think that if I had a nemesis, it would probably be this current administration and like
Yeah.
just the current structures of power and the people that uphold that power and benefit from that power
Yeah.
and the Christian content creators that they've used to kind of disseminate their message
Yeah.
because I'm sure you're aware there are quite a few Christian content creators like Bryce Crawford, who I know
Yeah.
you did a video on, the guy
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
interviewed the Grand Wizard of the KKK. He's very involved with Turning Point USA. There's also this podcast called Girls Gone Bible that was started by these two actresses. And they went on Erica Kirk's Make Heaven Crowded tour.
Yeah.
So I'd say if I have a nemesis, it's It's not like necessarily like it's not like I hate those people,
Yeah.
but what they're doing I hate
Yeah.
because they're hurting people in the process.
Yeah. Like, I never think of myself as having enemies. I know a lot of Christians talk about their enemies, especially like
Yeah.
Christian content creators and stuff. Like Mark Driscoll does it all the time.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
He's a
But
king of doing that.
yeah, he is. But I always like I always have just like a specific nemesis for a while where it's like I don't consider them my actual enemy, but content wise, they're my nemesis. It was for a long time it was a puppet. But lately it's been Josh Howerton, who just drives me crazy. But are you familiar with Josh Howerton?
That name sounds so familiar, but I can't place it.
He's a mega church pastor in Texas. I think he's in Dallas, I want to say.
Okay.
Called Lake Point Church, and they also do a podcast and stuff. But he's very mega, and he's one of those guys that tries to be hip and cool. And so I get family members sending his clips to me all the time, and I'm like, no. But yeah,
Oh
like
God.
in my last video, I showed a clip of him talking about how Trump asking why like if he's going to go to heaven, how that means that Trump has faith like a child because he's asking the big questions, and he never admits
Ugh.
that he can't do anything, and now he is. So he's like he has the faith of a child. I'm like, no, he's just an evil man who's done a lot of evil stuff.
I mean, he's childlike in a lot of ways, but
Yeah.
maybe not in that way.
Yeah, exactly. Like he
But
likes to.
I understand what you say when you're like you have a nemesis for like when you're working on a specific
Yeah.
video, because
Yeah.
that happens with me too with content creation, because a lot of my videos are responding to Christian content creators or talking about TikTok trends. Like
Yeah.
I'm about to drop a video about this TikToker named Savannah Stone. I don't know if you're familiar.
I don't
But
think I
her
am.
whole
Yeah.
thing, she says that she's a woman who actually loves her husband. And what she means by that is that she's willing to be submissive to
Oh.
him. And you don't truly love your husband unless you submit. So she's been my nemesis for like the last 2 weeks because
Yeah,
I've
I hate
been,
it.
deep diving into her content.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Um that kind of stuff drives me crazy. And like Doug Wilson, I just saw
Oh,
it today. He has a
yes.
video about how wives have to obey. I'm like, yeah, of course you want that.
Ugh.
Like, yeah, when
And
you,
he like him, and I think you posted it on Instagram. Him and like Mark Driscoll and Frank Turek were all
yeah,
just like hanging out
yeah,
recently, and I was like, "Geez,
yeah, what a team. Uh, not, yeah,
it's absolute nightmare fuel."
yeah, yeah. It does feel like the world's becoming the Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's and yeah, because Christian nationalism and this like trad wife movement and things like that, they all just seem so intertwined. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah. And do you think, yeah, there's like an ideal past that they're trying to get back to, or is it just an ideal future they've made up?
I think that they present it as an ideal past.
Yeah,
I think that they believe that, especially when it comes to like trad wives who
yeah,
kind of present this 1950s ish aesthetic, or maybe even older than that.
yeah,
They have this idea or present this idea that things back then were so much better, and life moved so much more calmer. Everybody knew their place, everybody had their role. And while I can see where they're coming from in the sense that people had more roles just because people were more limited on what they could do, especially for women and queer folks
yeah,
and, black folks. They were much more limited in what they could do. And there were a certain class of people, namely like white men, who
yeah.
benefited from that.
Mhm.
And, you know, I think that they want to have that structure and think that that structure and like line of authority is something that we should be getting back to. But the reality is that it wasn't better for most people back
Yeah,
then. So I think in reality, I think what they're trying to do is build this like future that is going to be shaped into what they want it to be shaped into.
Yeah, and using nostalgia and using the past as an excuse or as a tool
Yeah.
to bring people along. Yeah, and I mean, I've been somebody who's hated nostalgia for a long time, in the sense that, like, I am a very nostalgic person as far as like pop culture, things like that. But wanting to get back to something is the scariest thing. Like, if people are like, we need to get back to whatever, it's like, no, 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 no. We need to move forward. Like,
Right.
we
Yeah.
haven't moved enough past where we were back then. Like, we still have enough problems that no, no, no. The future is where we should be looking. But
Yeah, and I think a lot of them kind of like use the aesthetics of the past, like especially with the tradwife content creators, you'll see them in their little like kind of like old farmhouse kitchen with their aprons on, and they have like clothes that kind of look prairie dress like.
yeah,
And I think that is appealing to a lot of people, and I know for myself I can kind of understand it being in like being into kind of like witchy and like goth stuff where, you know, I love gothic architecture
yeah,
and I love cottagecore, and
yeah,
that kind of thing. So I can uh sympathize, I suppose, with them, but that be just because I like that aesthetic doesn't mean that I want to literally go back in time to
yeah.
the structures that existed then. Like I want to make societal progress, and me liking gothic architecture has nothing to like it doesn't necessarily like signal my values.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've joked before that, like, on one day I'll make pickles and I'll make my own spices and I'll do all this stuff, and I'm like, I'm a trad wife, but no, I'm just a
Yeah.
guy who likes making pickles and making his own spices. Like, that's not like,
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a shame that like the trad wife has kind of like the whole movement has co-opted like if you like bake your own bread, like make your own sourdough bread, somehow that's like a trad wife thing. And it's like
yeah,
no, people anyone enjoys that, and regardless of gender or age, anyone
yeah.
can participate in that kind of homemaking.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because for me, it's like I love making my own chipotle. I call it chipotle, but apparently it has to be smoked a certain way. I don't know. I like making my own spicy like spices because I find it fun. And you know, you see jalapenos on sale. It's like, I'm doing that. I have a
Right.
project for the week, but that doesn't have to. That doesn't mean I'm on the prairies. That doesn't mean that, yeah, it's Little House on the Prairie or whatever. It just
Yeah.
means that I'm gonna make a spicy meatball.
Right. Yeah, I go to a farmer's market like pretty regularly, and because of that I tend to like cook by the seasons cuz they at the
Right.
farmer's market they only have things available that, you know, are in season. And so
Yeah.
in a way I feel like that in itself kind of gives this like trad wife aesthetic, but it's
Yeah.
like I this is just what anyone can do. It doesn't necessarily have to be a trad wife thing.
Yeah. And do you find, so as like somebody in kind of an ex-Christian, ex-evangelical movement, um, do you feel like there is a difference between the way that people respond, either people in the movement or Christians looking inward, to somebody who isn't a straight white man? Like, do you feel like there's, yeah.
Like, do the, like, Christians respond
Yeah, Christian
differently?
response, and even, like, is there a difference in the community as far as, you know, other people who interact with your content versus, like, my content or Drew's content?
I will say I think this is probably the case for most, you know, femme presenting creators on the internet.
Yeah.
I the worst comments that I get are usually from men because I can
Yeah.
tell from their profile picture. It's usually older men, and it's usually
Holding a fish?
something that has to do with my appearance.
Yeah.
So I like you can tell I have a septum ring, but I
Yeah.
used to have one that was like a lot bigger. I was in the process of stretching my septum,
Yeah.
and that was like the consistent comment I would get from the straight white dudes
Yeah.
was about how like my septum ring like made me like so ugly, and like
Yeah.
basically the whole thing was like they could no longer objectify me or find me attractive because I presented myself in a way that they didn't like.
Yeah.
Which like first of all, like I'm not on the internet trying to appeal to anyone's
Yeah.
like idea of attraction. Like, I'm not here to be attractive to any specific person. And also, I just couldn't like understand why a piece of jewelry bothered them so
Yeah.
much, but it was something that like they couldn't get over.
Yeah.
So I would say like being a woman femme presenting on the internet, it can be you're subjected to a lot more criticism than I see people like Drew being subjected to.
Yeah. Because I remember like the first time when I started showing my face, some of the comments about my looks and stuff like that, I was basically in a fetal position for a week. I was just so
Oh
depressed. But then
no.
you see like the comments that women get or femme presenting people get online all the time. And it's like what I experienced was a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of what you experience, or like, yeah, women are representing people. It's just, yeah,
It's
um,
rough. Yeah,
yeah,
I had to like mute certain words on my channel because of
yeah,
just how many of those comments I was seeing. And like now I think I've been doing this so long that it doesn't necessarily bother me as much as it did when I first started. But
yeah.
it's still not fun to see that.
No,
And I also get this from atheist men too. It's not just the
oh yeah,
Christians.
oh yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I see that all the time online too. Whenever somebody has a septum piercing, the first comments are going to be septum theory,
Yep,
and it's
every
like,
time.
yeah, every single time, and it's like, so basically conservative men, they see somebody who has something you can't get till you're 18, so they get upset about
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I
so,
never thought about it from that perspective, but yes,
yeah.
that's probably true.
Same reason they get mad about tattoos. It's, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How do you deal, like, do you have a system in place for dealing with comments?
Besides for like having certain words like muted, like if someone comments something with nose,
Yeah.
then because like that's a consistent comment that I get. Which I've actually found has been beneficial, not just for people talking about septum ring theory, but also people being bigoted basically towards people that have larger noses and connecting
Yeah.
that to Judaism and that kind of
Right.
stuff. So it's
Yeah.
helped with that too. But I actually do read like almost all my comments, which I have found is not typical for
No,
most
it's not. I
YouTubers.
used to, but I don't anymore. I do for the first couple days that a video's out, and then
Mm.
I ignore them. But yeah, but I used to just read every single comment and take every single comment to heart. But yeah, I try not to.
I would say like maybe I don't read every single comment, but I am like in my comment section like pretty regularly, not
Yeah.
always replying or anything, but
Yeah.
just like kind of keeping tabs on what people are talking about. But I will say like kind of what you alluded to, comment sections are usually pretty positive the first couple days, and then they eventually like turn when
Yeah.
they find their ways to the like unsavory parts of the internet.
Yeah, I always call them field trip days. Like, just on certain days, all of a sudden, it seems like Christians just took a bus, did a field trip to my comment section, and all came together. And like, oh, okay, it's a field
Yeah.
trip day. I'm gonna shut my phone off.
Yeah, my video about Satanism from a couple months ago, all the most of the comments were pretty positive because it was like coming from my viewers when it first went out.
Yeah,
But for the last like 2 months, probably, it's the only comments I get are just from conservative Christians, basically like commenting that they are praying for me or hope I come back to Christ or that like Satan's a deceiver and I'm deceiving people.
yeah, yeah,
It's like only the Christians are finding it now, which
yeah.
all right.
The other day, I offered somebody my sweater, a family member of mine, and because they were gonna run out to the store, and I was like, "Oh, I have a sweatshirt there. You can just grab it." And they're like, "There's no devils on it, is there?" Nope, you're clean. That's just a
You're
plain.
good.
Yeah,
And most of my clothing has some sort of like satanic imagery at this point.
yeah. I'm getting there. Okay, lightning round. Are you ready for the lightning round questions?
Sure. So how does this work?
Basically, I'll ask you a question, and then You can just answer. I was gonna say you got to answer it quickly, but I don't really care. You can just answer.
It's supposed to be
They're
like a
basically
shorter
off-topic.
answer.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not on topic at all. It's just questions
Okay.
about non-topic things. So, like the first one, are you an early bird or a night owl?
I used to be an early bird. I would say I'm naturally more of an early bird, but Drew is a night owl, and since we've been together, I've gradually transitioned to being a night owl.
Oh, okay. Yeah, same. I am a night owl. I did an interview the other day, and I said early worm instead of early bird,
Oh,
and I've been beating myself up ever since then. So,
I'm pretty sure Michael from The Office says
yes,
something
yes,
like
it
that.
is. I think it's because of Michael. The early worm catches the worm.
Right, that's what it is.
Yeah. Um, is there a TV show you're currently watching?
The Office.
Nice.
But I mean, that's a TV show that I've had I've rewatched probably like 20 times. It's just,
Yeah.
what I put on when I'm doing other stuff.
Yeah, same. It's that Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and then sometimes Parks and Recreation. But yeah, those kind of shows that I just have on repeat. Oh, Community is another one where I don't know what
Or
it is.
for me, like it could be like Star Trek TNG or Star Trek
Oh,
Voyager,
yeah.
something
Yeah.
Star Trek related.
Yeah. Are you watching Starfleet Academy?
I started it. I don't really like it. And I
Oh.
think what I don't like about it is the music. For
Oh,
some
okay.
reason, the music kind of like drives me up the wall. And I
Yeah.
think if the music was a little different in that show, I would like it.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say it's too woke. But
I like the wokeness.
oh, good. Yeah. I think I'm an episode or two behind, but I've been really enjoying it. But I haven't been traditionally a big Star Trek person, so I
Okay.
feel like there's something about the new fun ones that I'm like just enjoying and
Oh,
liking the
good.
vibe. Like I love Strange New Worlds. I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
get
Strange New
enough of
Worlds
it.
is awesome.
Yeah. Um, and then what's the last movie you saw?
Last movie, like in theaters
Sure.
or oof. Oh my god, I cannot think of the last movie I watched either in theaters or not in theaters. Um Sorry, my
No
mind's going
worries.
blank.
You can pass anytime. Last book you read?
Last book I read. Right now I am reading Liberation Theology by Gustavo Gutierrez.
Oh, wow.
And that's in preparation for my next religious studies night.
Oh, okay. Very cool. And then you're at a party. Actually, I'm going to change this. What is your go-to dad joke? Do you have a favorite dad joke?
I don't know if I have a favorite dad joke. I feel like my
Yeah.
mind's kind of going blank on this
Yeah,
one
that
too.
that one. I feel like that question just triggers. It's like the name a woman, like Billy on the Street, where just as soon as that question is asked, he's like, I don't know. So maybe I'll cut that one. I'll stop asking that question because I don't think anyone.
I'm sure I have one. It's just like not coming to my head.
Yeah, mine's always been there's two muffins in an oven. One muffin says to the other, do you find it hot in here? And the other muffin says, a talking muffin.
Nope. That is very much a dad joke.
Yeah. So that being said, where can people find you?
People can find me at the Antibot on YouTube and then on Instagram. My Instagram is Taylor_the_Antibot.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. This was amazing talking to you, and we'll have to do it again sometime. Maybe we'll dive deeper into MLMs at some point.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. This has been awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Work, Sky Moon.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Sonar Network.